Listen up. I've seen more Hyundais come through my bay with problems that didn't need to happen. Problems that weren't from a bad part or a factory defect. No. They came from the driver's seat. That's right. They came from you, the driver. The person behind the wheel, committing a series of small, seemingly innocent transgressions that collectively form a death sentence for a perfectly good engine, transmission, or suspension system. And then one day, you're left staring at a bill you never saw coming and could have been easily avoided. Hey there, I'm Dean, a mechanic of over 15 years, and today, I'm moving out from under the hood and into the cockpit. I'll be exposing 7 driving habits that feel completely normal but have been silently chipping away at your Hyundais. And trust me, number 6 immediately saves you up to $4,000 from your savings. So, strap in. Starting with Habit 1. Chronic cold start high RPM engagement. The temperature is like 32 degrees Fahrenheit. You enter your Hyundai, you get it started, you hear that engine groan, and within 3 to 5 seconds, you throw it in gear and gun it because you're late for work. Well, this sounds like nothing, but I've got 2 words for you. Stop it. Why? You see, at initial startup, your engine's lubrication system is in a state of critical vulnerability. Your oil is thick and all pooled in a pan. The multi-grade oil, while engineered for cold flow properties, remains a high viscosity fluid adhering to the crankcase surfaces. The oil pump must create sufficient pressure to distribute this fluid through a network of galleries to the uppermost and most critical components: the camshafts, hydraulic lash adjusters, variable valve timing solenoids, and turbocharger bearings, if you've got those. This process, even under optimal conditions, requires several seconds. So for those first seconds, you guessed it, all these components are running on fumes. During this critical oil-starved period, metal-to-metal contact occurs at a microscopic level. Introducing high RPM during this phase exponentially increases the shear load on these unprotected surfaces. That high rev sends metal screaming against metal. The hydrodynamic wedge cannot form without adequate oil flow and pressure. The result is not sudden catastrophic failure, but accelerated abrasive wear. You are effectively polishing away the engineered tolerances of your bearings and journals with each aggressive cold start. The consequences are never instant, trust me. It manifests months or years later as a persistent low-end engine knock, a deep rhythmic thump-thump-thump from the lower block under load. This is the sound of connecting rod bearings that have worn beyond their service limits, allowing the rod to move with excessive clearance against the crankshaft journal. At this point, you've lost your Hyundai engine. The repair? Well, a complete engine teardown or replacement. And now, you're looking at up to $10,000 in bills. I've got so many Hyundai owners who've unfortunately had to spend this much and still find it hard to believe what the cause of this problem was. The fix? Easy. Start it. Leave it to idle for up to 30 seconds, long enough for the idle to settle from a high chirp to a low hum. Then drive gently for the next 5 minutes. This permits full thermal stabilization and guarantees complete oil circulation. Moving on, here's yet another shocking habit that causes more wear to your engine than you can possibly understand. Habit 2. Repeated short-duration trip cycles. You live close to everything. The store, school, work. Yeah, this is quite great. It really is, but unfortunately, your Hyundai won't feel the same way. Basically, your primary operational use involves journeys of less than 5 miles, where the engine rarely achieves or sustains full operational temperature, approximately 195 to 220 degrees Fahrenheit, before the ignition is terminated. This is the pinnacle of severe service. Short trips mean water and unburned fuel never boil out of your oil. Let's talk some science, shall we? You see, the combustion process is inherently dirty. It produces corrosive byproducts, including water vapor and acidic compounds like sulfur and nitrogen oxides. When an engine reaches and maintains its designed operating temperature, these contaminants are simply boiled off from the oil and expelled via the positive crankcase ventilation (PCV) system. Now, in your usual short trip cycle, your Hyundai's oil sump never achieves sufficient thermostatic heat to vaporize these contaminants. Water condenses and mixes with the oil, forming a milky emulsified residue on the underside of the oil filler cap. More critically, the water combines with combustion acids to form weak sulfuric and nitric acids within the oil itself. This acidic, contaminated fluid then coats every internal component, promoting corrosive wear on bearing surfaces, cylinder walls, and the valve train. Sure, this already sounds quite bad, but I'm not done just yet. Furthermore, in gasoline direct injection (GDI) engines, Hyundai's best bet right now, fuel dilution is a significant factor. Incomplete combustion and injection washdown during cold operation introduce raw gasoline into the crankcase oil. Short trips prevent this fuel from volatilizing and being removed via the PCV, leading to reduced oil viscosity and increased bearing wear. I've pulled valve covers on engines like this and the gunk looks like rotten chocolate pudding. And then these Hyundai owners go on and on about how they rarely ever use their cars, so why should it ever go bad? Unfortunately, that's never the case. In the end, I always tell them this. I know you've got nowhere you're driving to, but sometimes, maybe once a week, just take the long way home. Get the engine fully up to temp and keep it there for 20 minutes. Burn out the crud, and your pockets and your Hyundai will be better off for it. Drive continuously for a minimum of 20 to 25 minutes on a highway or open road, maintaining a steady speed of 55 to 65 miles per hour. This ensures the engine, oil, and catalytic converter all achieve and maintain their full operating temperature for a sufficient duration to purge accumulated contaminants. Consider this mandatory for your engine's health. Number 3 is a mistake we all make. It's never intentional, but the consequences just don't care. Habit 3. Unintentional partial brake application. Sometimes drivers do this thing where they just ride the brake pedal. You know, they maintain incidental contact with the brake pedal during non-braking operational periods, usually a result of improper foot positioning or anticipatory driving habits in dense traffic. It's quite common, and it might seem like nothing, but know this: you're only doing your Hyundai a disservice. Let me explain real quick. Modern hydraulic brake systems are designed as closed static systems when not in use. Even minimal pedal pressure, as slight as 5 to 10% of full travel, can cause the caliper pistons to move minutely, bringing the brake pads into contact with the rotor disc. This creates constant, low-level friction. This is bad news because the primary outcome is excessive thermal load. The brakes are engineered to dissipate intense intermittent heat generated during active deceleration. Continuous light contact generates a constant low-grade heat that cannot be dissipated as efficiently. So while you think you're being prepared, all you're doing is cooking your brakes, warping rotors, and wearing out pads twice as fast. You're also keeping the brake system partially engaged, which heats up fluid and can cause fading, which is basically reduced braking efficacy. Long-term, you will be replacing your Hyundai rotors and pads at 50% or less of their expected service interval. The rotors will exhibit severe scoring, heat spotting, and warping, leading to pedal pulsation during braking. Chronically overheated brake fluid becomes contaminated at an accelerated rate, compromising the entire hydraulic system's integrity and leading to potential corrosion of the ABS modulator and caliper pistons. I've changed enough Hyundai brake pads in my time to know that most times, when a brake pad has gone bad, the driver is to be blamed. So all you have to do is cultivate disciplined pedal discipline. The left foot should reside exclusively on the designated dead pedal rest area. The right foot operates in a deliberate pivot motion between the accelerator and brake pedals. There is no intermediary position. In extended, slow traffic situations, use greater following distances to allow for more coasting and less frequent, but more definitive, brake application. Sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. I adopted this practice like 3 years ago, and I haven't changed my brake pad since then. Now, let's talk about a habit that's common among drivers who use their Hyundai on mountainous terrain. If this is you, then you should definitely get a pen and pad out. Habit 4. Inadequate utilization of engine-assisted deceleration. Just last week, a couple rolled in from the mountains, their Hyundai smelling like a burnout contest. It just started shaking, they said. I pulled the wheels. Their rotors were blue with heat stress. "Were you riding the brakes all the way down?" I asked. They nodded. And just like that, an otherwise scenic drive became a 4-figure lesson in physics. You see, during extended descents down a mountain pass, this couple relied solely on the foundation brake system to modulate vehicle speed, maintaining constant pressure on the brake pedal for prolonged durations. They just left the transmission in drive and called it a day. This practice represents a fundamental misunderstanding of vehicle dynamics and energy management. The kinetic energy of a 3,500-pound vehicle traveling downhill must be dissipated. The foundation brakes, pads, and rotors convert this kinetic energy into heat. Their capacity to do so is finite, which means they are subject to thermal overload, leading to the brake fade I just described. Modern Hyundais have manual shift mode or a low gear for a reason, you know. The most severe outcome of making this a habit for your Hyundai is complete brake failure due to fluid boilover. So, yeah, that couple was as lucky as they come. The more common outcome is catastrophic brake system wear, crystallized brake pads, cracked or warped rotors, and seized caliper guide pins due to excessive heat cycling. This scenario often requires a complete brake system overhaul, including fluid flush, rotor and pad replacement, caliper service, and a four-figure bill. So, for the scenic lovers watching this, when driving down these terrain in your Hyundai, anticipate descents. Prior to beginning a significant downhill grade, manually downshift the transmission to a gear that provides meaningful engine braking, keeping RPMs within a safe upper range, like 3,500 to 4,500 RPM. The goal is to maintain target speed with only intermittent light brake application to supplement the engine braking. The brake pedal should be used in pulses, not held constantly, allowing the components to cool between applications. In simpler words, save your brakes for the actual stopping. Next up is a habit often born from laziness. I'm talking about Habit 5. Consistently low fuel tank reservoir levels. I know you guys. I've met quite a number of you. Hyundai owners who'll always run the tank down to the very last glimmer of the fuel light, every single time. You have these drivers who just never pay attention until that low fuel warning indicator is illuminated. This might seem like just being frugal or lazy, but what you're doing is killing your Hyundai slowly. To understand why, you also have to understand your Hyundai's mechanics. Truth is, the electric fuel pump assembly is a submerged component located within the fuel tank. Its primary coolant is the liquid fuel itself. Operating the vehicle with fuel levels consistently below 1/4 of the tank exposes the pump to several risks. First, it runs hotter, as it is not fully immersed in its cooling medium. Second, during cornering, acceleration, or braking, the fuel sloshes in the tank, potentially uncovering the pump intake entirely. This causes the pump to draw air, resulting in momentary cavitation. This is a condition where vapor bubbles form and implode, creating shock waves that damage the pump's impeller and bearing surfaces. Yeah, it's just as bad as it sounds. You're not being frugal, no. You're running on fumes and risking a premature fuel pump failure. The failure mode is often intermittent at first, a loss of power under load or extended cranking times before progressing to complete inoperability. Before you know it, you're staring down the barrel of a $400 pump job because you wanted to squeeze in one more commute. Not very smart, is it? So, just adopt a refueling discipline centered on the 1/4 of the tank threshold. When the fuel gauge needle crosses this point, consider it a mandatory operational parameter to refuel at the earliest convenience. This ensures the fuel pump remains submerged, cooled, and operating within its designed parameters at all times. Habit 6. Repeated high-impact suspension loading. Let me tell you what I see every single day right from my own windshield. I see people treating speed bumps like a suggestion. They don't slow down. They, in fact, speed up. And this isn't only for speed bumps. I'm talking potholes, drainage culverts, and railroad crossings. That thud you feel isn't just uncomfortable for you. It is also uncomfortable for your suspension and chassis that have just been subjected to high-force impulse loads. It's your struts compressing violently, your ball joints jarring, your control arms stressing, and your wheel alignment getting knocked out of whack. Your vehicle's suspension is a precisely tuned system of springs, dampers, linkages, and bushings designed to absorb and dissipate road energy. Each component has a finite fatigue life and yield strength. A speed bump taken at 25 miles per hour instead of 5 miles per hour increases the load exponentially. The shock absorber's piston is forced through its fluid reservoir at a speed it cannot effectively dampen, leading to internal cavitation and seal damage. The tire sidewall and wheel bear the initial brunt, transmitting immense force into the lower control arm, ball joint, tie rod end, and wheel bearing. These are still not the most fragile components. That title goes to the rubber or polyurethane bushings that isolate metal-to-metal contact at every suspension pivot point. High-impact loads can cause these bushings to crack, tear, or deform permanently, leading to immediate changes in alignment geometry, causing tire wear, and creating palpable looseness or clunking in the suspension. After years of making this a habit, the outcome is one you can't avoid. You will experience it all, from chronic alignment issues manifesting as uneven tire wear even after repeated alignments to wheel bearings that will growl and fail prematurely and strut mount issues. Even your Hyundai's ball joints can't handle that load. They will develop dangerous play. The repair bill will go from a simple alignment to a comprehensive front-end overhaul involving multiple components. The fix is quite obvious. I've given this same lecture not only to customers, but to even other drivers I see on the highway making the same mistake. Approach all known road surface transitions defensively. Decelerate to a speed where the crossing is smooth and controlled, often a near walking pace. The crossing should be a single, mild compression and rebound of the suspension, not a jarring impact. Your goal is to preserve the fatigue life of every component in the system. Next up is a habit that can be traced back to your driving lessons. Habit 7. Improper parking sequence on inclined surfaces. Let me set up a scenario for you real quick. You take the scenic route and then decide to stop on a hill, and before you pull the parking brake, you just shove it into park. This looks all great, right? Well, plot twist, it in fact isn't all great. Why? Because you've got the weight of your Hyundai resting on one tiny piece of metal inside your transmission called the parking pawl. Do this enough, and one day it might not come out of park, or worse, it fails to hold. You see, I'm not a driving instructor, but that park gear in an automatic transmission is definitely not a brake. It is a mechanical lock achieved by engaging a small, tooth-shaped component called a parking pawl with a geared ring attached to the transmission's output. This component is designed as a parking aid, not the primary restraint. When the vehicle's weight is allowed to rest on this pawl by releasing the service brake before setting the parking brake, the entire mass of the vehicle strains against this small piece of steel. On a steep incline, this can create tremendous stress. The familiar clunk you'd hear when shifting out of park on a hill is the sound of this pawl disengaging under load. Repeatedly loading and shocking the pawl mechanism can lead to wear, deformation, or, in extreme cases, sheer failure. If the pawl fails or jumps out of engagement, the vehicle will roll away. Furthermore, the constant strain on the driveline can stress transmission mounts and even the final drive components. To avoid this, I've got to be your driving instructor and not your mechanic for now. I'll be teaching you how to execute the full restraint parking procedure. Start by bringing the vehicle to a complete stop with the service brake firmly applied. Then, while maintaining brake pressure, firmly engage the parking brake to its full applied position. Afterwards, gradually release the service brake, allowing the vehicle's weight to settle onto the parking brake system. Now, then, and only then, with the parking brake holding the vehicle, can you select the Park P position. This sequence ensures the parking pawl is used only as a backup safety device, not the primary load-bearing component. This is definitely a lot to remember, but you just can't deny the benefits. It's literally either following that sequence or a $3,000 repair bill every 2 years. Look, your Hyundai is a machine. It obviously doesn't have feelings, but it does have logic. Treat it illogically, and it will definitely break. It's that simple. Yeah, these habits aren't over the top, but they're quiet and insidious. They let you think you're getting away with it until the day the mechanic, probably me, gives you the bad news. And you'll say, "But I always took care of it." Did you? Did you though? Be smarter than the habit. Drive with your head, not just your hands. Your Sonata, your Tucson, your Elantra, they're built to last. Don't be the reason they don't.